So this week we've been putting an end to a few things and it all pretty much got a little bit sci-fi. Welcome to your weekly dose of everything model kit stuff. Yes, hello everyone, welcome to this week's Table Talk. My name is Jason. This of course is Model Kit Stuff. And a huge big welcome to all of you, whether you're a long-term subscriber, a new subscriber, a member. You're all welcome, it's great to see you all. We've got all the usual stuff to talk about and one or two other little bits, and of course we're going to talk about a little topicy thing towards the back end. So, where to begin? So much going on. I suppose we should really start with the very last image of last week's Table Talk, because that's where the sci-fi week sort of starts. So those of you who are good enough to watch till the end know that there was a flippant, humorous moment where I'm lifting my cup up and implying that UFO DVDs are only really fit to be coasters. And that was clearly a certain young man and his misguided comments. So Peter and I, we text each other on and off depending on what's going on each other's channels. And I did say last week we were, probably in August we're set to do another one. I can confirm that Peter's up for that in August. He's looking forward to that. I'll be hosting it this time as Peter hosted the last one. And so it sort of sits with me to come up with the theme, although obviously we will agree that between us so that we can both prepare some thoughts and what have you. So usual sort of format, we'll start some conversations off. That'll get some topics going for the viewers, and then we'll do some Q&A and that sort of stuff. But Peter obviously picked up on my my little comment. Well, when I say little comment, my quite outlandish comment that we were going to have a roasting going. I got a text. Well, I got several. And I think, in all honesty, Peter's a little bit worried that I might not think as highly of one of his favourite programmes as he would like me to be. So he doesn't know what I really think about UFO, and I'm not going to share that just yet. But we're launching the Space 1999 build in September, and we're doing the live stream in August. So it's all a nice little build-up, so I'm sure that will come up in that live stream. So I'm part way through watching UFO for the second time. The first time I sort of had it on in the background, second time I'm watching it properly and absorbing it. And that sort of set the scene for the week. So as a lot of you know, I'm a big Space 1999 fan, and I hadn't watched UFO before. Now, my Space 1999, I've got Series 2 digitally and Series 1 on old format DVD. And I really wanted to update that. Now, I generally don't buy Blu-ray. I do have a Blu-ray player and I know it's superior, but actually have a lot of my DVDs played through the computer, and that has an Apple reader that only does DVD, doesn't do Blu-ray, so I tend to get DVD still. Anyway, I decided that I wanted to bring that collection together in something a bit more manageable. So this week I spent whatever it was, £75 on the complete ultimate Space 1999 double series from the Jerry Anderson store. And that has all the interviews. It has the 4 Space 1999 films on, which actually just made up from the episodes and like TV movies cobbled together, but they're on there, and all sorts of commentary and other nice little bits. And it's something like 20 discs, I think, to do 48 episodes plus across the 2 seasons and what have you. So yeah, the ultimate collection, if you like. So I'll now have UFO and Space 99 complete on DVD, so that's sort of nice. So all that's been going on, and also I've been starting to work up ready for the Space 1999 build. And as you know, if you watch this regularly, 2 or 3 weeks ago we talked about just upping the presentation of the channel a little bit, and you know, less is more, do it a bit more professionally. And I wanted to do this for the Space 1999 build. I want that to be a little bit special because it's a 50th anniversary. So I want it to sort of really ooze Space 1999 rather than my usual titles, which are a bit generic, and they're suitable for our first impressions and they're suitable for this weekly chat spot. But the build diaries, I want to sort of make them a bit more individual and standalone, if you like, which I always used to do. Then we had this music band thing which rattled me a bit, but now I'm realising that you need some form of music in the intro at the very least to up the professional presentation, and so we're bringing that back gently, but we're not doing lots of music in the video itself, which I used to do and I was doing increasingly, and we've dropped that. So I started doing the intro for the Space 1999 build. So I really wanted to use the original theme tune, and I have actually requested to be able to use it, not had a response. Don't think I will get a response, you know, it's just the way it is. But yeah, one of my members helped me out, found the information for me, shared it with me. So I've contacted them, no response as yet. So I then thought, well, is there some way I can find somebody else as a cover, and maybe if it's a decent cover they might let me use it. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I found an orchestral cover of the first season's theme tune, which is sort of my preference, and you could buy that for 78p, and it gave me it stated it gave me the rights to the license to use it for public use. What I didn't realise was that when I come to do that, so I did the trailer a couple of weeks ago for it, the first trailer, and what I didn't realise was that whilst I could share it and use it, YouTube wouldn't allow me to monetize it. So actually it's not usable for intro music to the build, because it means I won't be able to generate any income from the build, from advertising and stuff. So that's a problem. So what I've decided is I'll probably put out another 2 trailers as we get a bit closer, and hopefully I will start the build in August. In fact, I will start the build in August, no matter what. We'll come back to that probably, and that will allow me to have some material to put into the trailers as we get a little bit closer. So that meant I had to find another piece of music, and I spent a whole evening looking through the YouTube music catalogue. So that's music that YouTube allow you to access and use in various different ways, but you can use it basically on any of your YouTube videos. So there's all sorts of ways you can filter it. So I filtered it under dramatic, I filtered it under 70s, I filtered it under sci-fi, and eventually I narrowed it down to like 3 pieces of music. I got Paula in and said, right, you know Space 1999, which one feels a bit more Space 1999? So there was one that felt really 70s and a little bit funky, but it wasn't really quite sci-fi. The other one was a little bit more modern and dancing, although it had a good rhythm, which was going to be great for driving the imagery of the intro. It didn't really feel sci-fi or 70s at all. So the third one, Paula liked. It's catchy, it's got a beat, it's got a rhythm that allows you to drive imagery. And if you think about the original Space 1999 first season intro, I mean, both of them are quite dramatic, season 1 and season 2, but with season 1, what they did was they introduced the program as a whole. You had this slow, dramatic, da-da sort of music, and where it showed the 2 lead characters because of their contracts, they had to be highlighted, and then you got This is Space 1999. Then you got This is what's coming up in this episode, and it was fraction of a second clips shot at you almost in a hypnotism way, little pinches of what's going to come up, and then they had the sort of standard intro that you saw every time. So you've got the eagle spinning to the moon and crashing, which they never used in any of the episodes, so I guess it was cut out of something, and so on and so forth. So it's quite a dramatic and long-winded introduction to the program, and it's, you know, about 1.5 minutes long, the original program introduction. So I wanted to do something that was equally as dramatic and captured the moment. So I've now done 5 different iterations of the intro. So 2 with the original piece of music that I bought that I thought I'd be able to use, and 3 with this new piece of music. So we started with some of the imagery I'd made, which was actually thumbnails that I'd created, where I found they had a text that was very similar to the text used on the program, but then in the editing suite they don't have that option, so you ended up with 2 different types of text. So that needed to be ironed out, and it was all very static because it was going from image to image to image to image. So I refined it, got it to a fairly decent format, chucked it at the members in the social group and said, here's my second attempt. I'd done a fun one before the trailer, which had me stood being Commander Koenig as per the original. So if you're a member, you've seen that, and you know, that was very much a comedy one. We're having a bit of a laugh. Me and my daughter creating that. She was taking the pictures for me and what have you. So we're having a bit of a laugh originally, but by the time we got to this second one and I'd given it to the members and said, look, this is what I'm thinking, what are your thoughts? I got some really nice feedback. I got feedback on the different types of text, which was really helpful. I got feedback on the pace, on the music. A lot of people commented they liked the music. So I then took that away and said, right, okay, I want it to be more animated. What can I do? And I sort of started messing around with my my software, my editing software, to see, what for not done before, what for not used, and have a play with it. And I discovered that I could do more layers than I thought I could do, so I could put things on top of each other more. And I discovered some options that gave me a little bit of animation. They're limited, but they work quite well. So I have ended up with a nearly final rendition. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it for a couple of weeks, then I'm going to come back with fresh eyes, and then when I'm sort of disengaged from it, I can sit back and go, that needs a tweak, and that needs tightening up, and there's a spelling mistake. Although actually I got Paula to proofread it after I'd given it to the subscribers, and there was a spelling mistake that no one appeared to have noticed, or at least didn't mention. Anyway, so all that's been corrected, and I now have this second iteration of the introduction. So this is how much work goes into these videos. It's several evenings of plucking away. I mean, it's fun, I enjoyed doing it, but if I'm doing that, I'm not doing something else. So like I say, it's nearly there, not quite, but I thought you guys might be interested to see what the introduction to the Space 1999 50th anniversary Eagle 1 build will look like. So here it is. So, keeping to the spirit of the original series, we've got a number of nods in there. So we've got the September 13, 1999, which is in the original titles. The image of Moonbase Alpha, that's going to get replaced by a bit of artwork from my daughter that my youngest daughter Alice is currently drawing. She's quite nifty with the drawing skills. So she's going to do an adaptation where we get the logo and we get an eagle in that picture. Then, just like the show where it says this episode and they show these shots as I talked about, we're going to do the same. We're going to have this episode and we're going to show little shorts. So where you saw clip, that's where we'll put a clip in every week, and we'll give the episode a name. So rather than the names will come from the original two series. So the first ever episode to be aired is called Breakaway. It's the story of how the moon separates from the Earth, and we're going to call ours Breakaway. Now, I don't think I'll have as many episodes as Space 1999 had, so I'm going to choose some of my favourite episode titles, and we might drop some little Easter eggs in there. So if you are a Space 1999 fan, we might have one or two little quotes that get, you know, mentioned, you know, while I'm building. I might just say something that's a quote. So we might have a little bit of fun with it. It opens, anyone who's a Space 1999 fan will know that very first opening scene that I've created is actually a quote from the programme, so it's not in the original series. But I've also got to talk to people who've perhaps never seen Space 1999, which is why we say nuclear dump explodes, moon's pushed out into space, and I need people to have a little bit of context. So there you go. By all means, in the comments, let me know what you think about all of that. Like I say, it still needs a little bit of tweaking. It's got a couple of little timing issues that we need to sort out. But it's meant to be a bit of fun, give people an understanding of what's happening, and entice people to watch the rest of the video, which will actually be building a model, which is sort of what we're all about on this channel. So there you go. That's sort of my sci-fi week well underway. Then we get to Monday. And Monday, we did first impressions all about tripods. And we've talked about the tripods. You'd seen the on Table Talk some time ago. They've been sat under my desk for ages, waiting to be reviewed. I reviewed both of the kits. So if you are a sci-fi fan, even if you've never watched the tripods, or maybe you're interested in War of the Worlds, and you know, obviously that's tripods as well, you might be interested in those kits. To buy those kits, you can't buy them commercially. You have to join the Facebook page. There's a link to it under that video, and then you have to say, hi, I'm interested in buying one of these, and the guy on that Facebook page will reach out to you and say, hi, if you want some, this is what we need to do, blah de blah. Like I say, he's now doing versions with lights in, and they have the little green lights that go around and come back, just like the original series. And you can download for your phone some sound effects from the tripods that you can use as alerts and ringtones and stuff, so you can play them when the lights go and really get a bit of atmosphere. I've not got the lit versions. He brought them out not long after I bought those. I'm not that fussed. You know, when I've built a model, if it's good enough to go on my display and I want to display it, that's what I do. But I don't play with it. I don't move the doors. I don't spin propellers. I don't wheel it about. And that's generally why I don't do lighting either. Now, Titanic will be different because I'm hoping that's going to go somewhere a bit more on show than the rest of my models. And it'd be nice in the evening just to flick the lights on. And so that's an exception to that rule. So yeah, there we go. That was my sort of sci-fi week. So started on the Saturday, continued on the Sunday. Obviously I finished editing the tripods actually on Sunday, so I had a real sci-fi day, and you know, that's where my head's been. I've been watching UFO. I've also been watching some Space 1999. I ordered more Space 1999. And then we got to Monday and the tripods came out. So, you know, bit of a sci-fi overload. And then all of that changes because we come back down to a bit of historical reality on Wednesday with episode 29 of the Sherborne. So as I'm recording this is now, I don't know, what is it, 4:46 on Wednesday. So I need to try and be done for 5:30 when Paula gets home from work. So the Sherborne went out, and I don't know why. That was a strange. We went way off piece there, didn't we? Anyway, as I'm recording this, Sherborne has gone live, and that's the penultimate one. So ships, but of a very different type. And yeah, we've got one more episode of the Sherborne guys. You know that I showed this as finished some time ago, but for those people that follow the build but don't follow the channel, or don't watch Table Talk because it's not modelling enough, they're gonna realise it comes to an end very shortly. So I've edited the last video. It's an hour and 15 minutes, so a fraction over an hour and 15 minutes. And I thought we really want to go out with a bang on the last episode of the Sherborne. So we'll talk about that when we talk about what's coming up next week. So that got us past Wednesday. Then on Friday we had a shorter video than normal. That's Scharnhorst part 28, and that gets you up to where I am. I have no material after that. So that then gets you to table talk. So let's just talk about that. More generally, modelling as a rule. So before we get to what was on the bench, we're going to swap it around a bit and talk about what's coming up next week and what's coming up over the next 5-6 weeks, because on Friday my daughter finishes her high school. That's school done for the summer, not back till September. So things change up a little bit. So I thought it'd be good to talk about that and understand what's going down there. So things change because I no longer have to drop off or pick up my daughter in the evenings. I can do it all in the mornings, and the traffic is a lot lighter because you've not got people zooming everywhere, dropping kids off and then going to work. So, and you've got lots of people taking holidays so that they can go away with the kids, and so that they can look after the kids and all of that sort of stuff, and the traffic gets a lot lighter. So I'll be picking my daughter up 7 in the morning, so I'm back for 8 in the morning when I choose to start work. And I'll be working from home, so I won't actually be in the office unless I'm told I need to be in for something. I won't be in the office over the summer holidays. So that means that when I finish work, working from home, around about 4 o'clock, I have about an hour to an hour and a half each day where I can do a little bit of modelling. So my amount of modelling or video editing or both combination will start to increase a little bit over the summer months. I've also got some time booked off. So the last 2 weeks of August I'm not in work. The first week I'm away with Paula. We're going off to Wales. We're going to this quiet remote part of Wales. I'm fairly sure that some parts of it people have never been there. It's that remote. So we've got a caravan, just the two of us, no kids. It'll be nice. My daughter will be at home, and no doubt her boyfriend will be around and what have you. So you know, it's a nice break and a bit of a chill out, and there won't be any modelling that week. Although we're only away Monday to Friday, so the 2 weekends I'll have some time, which is when I do most of my modelling anyway. But then the following week, Paula's back at work because she's not got enough holidays for another week. And what have I done with that? Move that over there. So I've got a week to myself. I've got Alice all of that week, so we will do some day trips and stuff, but generally the mornings will be modelling, so I'll have a little bit more modelling time than I'd normally get. So I will definitely, if I've not got to it before, I absolutely will be doing some of the Eagle One in the last half of August, so I'm ahead for the start of the build diaries going out in September. So where does that leave me with all the other builds? Because I intend to launch it. I've not looked at what date it is actually. Let me have a look at what date it is. So the 13th of September is a Saturday. So we'll probably launch it on the 12th of September on that Friday evening, as we normally do. So I need to have episode 1 done and edited there. Now, episode 1 we talked about last week. You know that's going to be an introductory format, and we'll talk about, as I sometimes do when I start a build, we'll talk about tools, products, what we plan to do, what aftermarket I've got, all of that sort of stuff, and introduce you into the subject. So anyone who's not familiar with Space 1999 gets what's going on, basically. So we need to do that on the 13th of September. So that gives me a little bit of time to get ahead if I start this in August. Right, do me a quick favour before we carry on with the video. Like button. It's underneath the video, it looks like that. You click it and that's a like. You could have done it while I'm talking to you. If just one more of you hits the like, that improves how many people will see this video. Around 80% of people that watch this video are not subscribers. So please consider subscribing, because there's lots of fun stuff coming and I wouldn't want you to miss it. So where does that leave us with the other builds? Well, Scharnhorst is dead in the water, as in I've got no video footage, so I need to do work on that and record it to get anything more. So that is my plan for this weekend, is to do some more stuff on the Scharnhorst and start building that back up. So I don't know what my Saturday's looking like, because Paula, she's been diagnosed with arthritis in her left hip, and been told she's probably about 10 years away from a hip replacement. Which is, as you know, is driving this car change, so that she's got an automatic and a hybrid and what have you. So it's easier on her hip and doesn't cause the discomfort that she gets from using the clutch. So she's going into hospital on Saturday to have an injection, which is going to ease the pain and mobility. And I think the plan is they'll see how long that lasts and then come up with a program of injections to support her over the next 10 years or so. But we won't know until Friday what time her appointment is. So I don't know exactly what Saturday's looking like, but we'll get some model time on Saturday. So on Saturday I will be doing a combination of the Tamiya Panzer and the Lady Eleanor. So I'll probably get up and do a couple of hours on the Lady Eleanor, and then flip over to the Panzer and do a couple of hours on the Panzer 1. I'll show you progress on that in a minute. And then on the Sunday we'll just do Scharnhorst, and we'll do 4 to 6 hours solid on the Scharnhorst. That'll be the plan there. So we can start building up some material. Now we don't need to have another episode of the Scharnhorst for for about 3 weeks, because next Friday we'll have the Sherborne. So that's how we'll go out. We'll put it in the premiere prime time slot, Friday night. We'll have a slightly longer video than normal, and you guys can all watch that. So if you want to see how it all comes to an end, plus the photographs of the finished build, plus my thoughts on the model after having completed the build, then you want to be 9 PM UK time on my channel watching the premiere. It means you won't get any adverts, and it means you'll get to chat with other subscribers, fellow modelers, members of the channel, and myself. There's a possibility Chris might be on, I don't know. Sometimes he's on a Friday, sometimes he isn't. So who knows? But if you're not there, you definitely will miss being able to talk to us all. So if you've been following the Sherborne build, interested in the Sherborne build, interested in wooden ship modelling at all, that's a video not to miss, I think. So that will happen next Friday. The following Friday we then need to rattle on with the Junkers. So it'll be episode, what will that be? I can't remember what the last one was. Was it 5 or 6? It's going to be something like that. Oh no, it'll be Junkers 7. I don't know how many there is to finish it off. Obviously it's finished, I'll show you that in a minute. But I think you're probably on 8 episodes, 9 at extreme push. So I need to do that as well. So we might do a couple of weeks of the Junkers to finish the Junkers off. And then we'll be back onto the Scharnhorst, and we should have built that up. So in terms of actual live builds, what I've got is the Lady Eleanor, the Scharnhorst and the Panzer I at the moment. So I've only got 3 builds going on, and I'm going to get back into my groove of doing one a weekend. So yeah, now the Panzer I isn't going to take that long, and when the Panzer I's done, we're straight onto the Eagle, bang through the Eagle. But in September I also have the Wheelie Things members only group build, and I'm planning to build two models at that time. So what I'm thinking of doing is I want to keep the momentum going with the Scharnhorst, because it's been a bit stop-start over the last couple of months. Get the momentum going back with the Scharnhorst. So what we're going to do is we're probably going to leave the Lady Eleanor as an occasional, when I've got some material, pop it out, and then build more and more into it as we settle down and the September group builds are out of the way. So you're probably going to see very spasmodic Lady Eleanor until maybe October, November, and it'll pick up pace. When the Space 1999 build is finished, then I don't know. There's a very tasty looking helicopter coming from Airfix as a new tool, and I really fancy doing that. We've not done a helicopter on the channel before. I'll be absolutely ready for a change after that big Eagle. Now I don't know how long it's going to take to do the Eagle. In theory, there's not that many parts, and there's a lot of repetitive parts. So the 4 shoulders and stuff, you know, you can do them en masse. So don't know. There's a lot of either decal work or masting work, so the painting is going to take the longest, not least because fundamentally it's white and that's not a great colour. But I plan to some people are going to raise an eyebrow here. I plan to prime it in black, so bear with me, so that I can do some shading of the white, build the white up in layers and do some shading and what have you, and modulate and shade at the same time, and do some highlighting and stuff. So rather than going down with a grey and then pre-shading and then hoping you've not buried it, I'm going to build up layers of paint, because it's quite a big model, so we can do that. We can do cloud effects, streak effects and that sort of stuff just by painting with the airbrush. We'll break it down into modules and do it sections at a time, and treat each section as a model in its own right, do the weathering, build it up, make the thing look awesome, because that is definitely something I want to have on display. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a labour of love, the Eagle. I think you're probably picking that up. So that's the unknown of that. How it might not take too long to build up, but take a bit longer to paint. So I don't know where that's going to leave me and how far that eats into the September. But the September group build is 1st of September. I will have started maybe 2 weeks before that, maybe 1 week before that on the Eagle. So within 2 or 3 weeks of each other, I've got 3 new builds all starting. Now one of them is 3D printed, it's the Matilda 1, and the other one is the Tamiya. I've got it here. The Metallic, which I need to do a first impressions of before then. So we'll be doing all of that stuff, and so what I'm sort of thinking is crack on with the Scharnhorst and keep the Scharnhorst going. We've got a nice break with the end of the Sherborne. We don't have an emergency to start the Lady Eleanor. I can keep chipping away in the background, and then we can release that as we're ready. Use my extra time in August to put out my other multi-part build that I'm not getting time to edit but needs to be put out there. So I'll have a whole new build related to Lord of the Rings. which I'm not sure I've told you that before. So that'll be coming out. That's 40 plus episodes, which will go out one episode a day. It's all edited. Well, it's not edited. It's all recorded. It just needs topping and tailing. So the way I've filmed it is I've filmed it so that it can all be linked together for one episode. Episodes are around 20 minutes long, and you just need the intro and the outro adding on. So in the summer holidays, when I've got this extra time after work, I can edit 2 or 3 videos, chuck it out, get them all loaded up, and then just make them go live one after the other. With the group build in September, it's a members only group build. That means the builds will be visible to members only initially. What I will do is, once the group build is completed, and that's done, and it's a 6-month group build, so I've got 6 months to build these, so I don't have to be religiously building it. I want to do it sort of updates every month. Here's where I am with my builds, and then we'll perhaps put it all together, show some bits to the members, and then when the builds are completed, we might do a 1 or 2-parter building the 3-part, the 3D printed Matilda 1, building the Tamiya Matilda 2, and chuck those out for everybody. But that will be after the members have seen the completed builds and the group build is finished and what have you. And then what we'll do is we'll do a members only showcase, and that'll be visible to the members only first, and then it'll be released to everybody. And it'll be part of a way of encouraging some people to become members and seeing, you know, what you can get out of it. And during that time, of course, we've got Telford, and we're going to have a members only event going on at Telford, where we're going to go out in the evening of this Saturday. So anyone who can get to Telford who's a member, you know, we'll do that. So I'm not going to do a meet and greet like I've done in previous years there. I usually do it near the Airfix stand. I'm not sure I'll be allowed too close to the Airfix stand this year, to be honest. So I'm not going to do a meet and greet. I'm going to do this members event afterwards, and we'll be talking more about that if you're a member closer to the time. So there's a lot starting to go on. But in terms of the builds, the Tamiya tank is a quick build. The Eagle one should be a medium-sized build, and then we'll see where we are, because I would like to build this helicopter from Airfix when it comes out, and so we might be doing the on the plastic side the helicopter and the 2 tanks in the background, because I've got 6 months to do them, whilst we're focusing on the Scharnhorst every other week and putting more Scharnhorst content out. And then the Lady Eleanor, we can build some of that up, and then when I've got 4 or 5 episodes, we can start putting those out. And so I suspect that might come early October, and we'll do the second of the absolute beginners build, which gives everyone lots of time to get a bit more further through the Sherborne and towards the end of that build. So that's loosely how I'm seeing it all come together. Right then, shall we talk about talking about what's coming up next week, as we've touched on Friday. Let's see. There's nothing on the Monday, because I haven't got any wood build progress. So the stuff that would come out on a Monday, our first impressions, is going to Wednesday. So I've got a little less pressure on video editing, which is also going to help with build time. So on Wednesday, we've got a first impressions of a kit that was lent to me, and it's from Border Models. And yeah, I've got 2 Border Models kits, and what I think I want to do is do them back to back following weeks, so you can see the difference between the 2 and give you an understanding of, you know, what is common for this particular brand with this particular type of kit, and what the differences are between them. So I think that'll be good. So that's sort of what's coming next week. We're finishing Sherborne, and you've got a Border Models first impression, and then the week after that, more Junkers, getting us towards the end of Junkers, and another Border Models. Right then. So what did we get up to on the bench, like you don't know? So on the bench, we finished the Junkers. There you go. Oh, sorry, you want the rest of it as well, don't you? There you go. So she is done. And I think she looks pretty good. She's not perfect. Couple of issues of my own creation. I popped a window out, masking off. So that's my fault for not gluing it in properly in the first place. And then I've come to mask it, and so my process was wrong. I should have glued it in, masked it before I assembled the fuselage. I neglected to do that. I then popped the window out and I can't get it back in. Actually, this is, as a build, not perfect enough for my display, but it looks really nice. It had some challenges. We talk about that at the end of the video. But all in all, not a bad model. I'm pretty happy with how it's come out. And you'll get some close-ups of that when we wrap up the final video. So I think you're about 2 videos away from the end of that. Also though, we got this, the Panzer 1. This is the 2024 new tool, Panzer 1 from Tamiya. Basically, it's built up lower hull, upper hull, turret, figure as far as I can ahead of painting. So I've got wheels to build up, and then bits that are going to go on to clean up, ready for painting. I've got a little display base for it, so I'm going to paint that, and I've challenged myself to paint it with the same Tamiya paints that are called out for the kit only. So that's a nice little project. Diorama only based on paints specified in the kit for the kit. So that'll be fun, and will drive me to test those Tamiya enamels a little bit further. So that's what we've got up to on the bench. Got to say that the Panzer 1 over a couple of weekends, you know, spending an hour and a bit on it each session, it's just fallen together. No issues. A thing of beauty in terms of fit. I have some issues with how you're forced to display the model, but we'll talk about that at the end. But so far, a really nice kit. Okay, so that's what's happened on the model bench. So no stash ads this week, but we do have to put to bed the Stalwart, because we were talking about the Stalwart last week. On Sunday, we put out another Stalwart video, and you know, this is now the 3rd week that's been on my bench in Table Talk. So you know, there's that saying about all news is good news. You know, it's certainly getting a lot of coverage, the Airfix Stalwart, isn't it? So as you'll know, I got replacement parts. Some of them were better, some of them were worse, some of them were short shot. I've now got 2 kits effectively in terms of plastic parts, and I'm not fully sure I can make a decent kit out of both sets. There is definitely some parts which have sink in regardless of how good the rest of the kit is that's been supplied to you. The jerry cans, for example, and it would appear that they sink here between these 2 windows on the side. It's just, the only variation is how bad that sink is. Generally the parts that I got sent to me were a lot better, but I did have some short shots, and I've been told that I've got more short shots that I've missed. So yeah, all in all, a complete disaster from Airfix of their own making. And the way I see Airfix is, if you think of Airfix as a ship, the core of Airfix is a fairly decent ship. It floats really well, it's got wind in its sails, they're bringing out really nice kits with the occasional exception. They're doing really well. Sometimes it's a bit slovenly and disorganised, and it needs to be tightened up. I'd see it, if we go Master and Commander, it's more whaler than Royal Navy. And I mean that with all the love in the world. You know, there's errors on here that can only have happened in the office, not at the manufacturing site. You know, eyes missing and what have you. So there is still things that need to be sorted out on that ship, but in the main that ship is sailing well and has got wind in its sails, but it does have 2 anchors that it's currently dragging. One of them is the Indian manufacturer, and the other one is Hornby Hobbies and their current situation, and those 2 anchors are dragging Airfix back at the moment. So I'd like to see them cut those anchors. In my perfect world, Airfix would cut anchors and sail off into the sunset, and, you know, sort their regulation and morale out and get themselves a nice, well-oiled fighting machine. That's my dream for Airfix. But yeah, the Stalwart, I've decided that I'm not going to build it right now. Originally, that was my plan, drop everything, build it. I've decided, having consulted with the members again and getting their view, that we'll wait for some aftermarket. I'm told there's lots of people building it right now. I'm only aware of one, and they've done a spectacular job of it. They've heavily weathered it. It looks really, really good. But right now, because so many people apparently are building it, there's no point in me doing another out-of-the-box build. I'll wait for the aftermarket and we'll do something a little bit special. We'll correct some of those issues and we'll make a nice job of it and have a slightly different spin on the Stalwart. So you ain't going to see that on the desk next week. It's gone, it's done with, that's it. It's old news. So we've covered a lot of ground in this week's table talk. We really are motoring at the moment. But I was lying in bed one night and I needed a distraction because those of you that still work know what it's like. Sometimes something's going on at work and your head's buzzing and you're thinking about work and you need a distraction. So my distraction is always modelling, almost always modelling. So I decided I needed to reframe my mind because it was going round in a circle and I needed to get to sleep, and I'd been lying there for half an hour, I couldn't get to sleep. So I purposely started thinking about this that we're about to talk about to try and get myself to go to sleep. And it worked eventually. So we've just been talking about what's going on and the fact that, you know, coming round the corner is this barrage of kits and what have you. So a really busy time for me because we've got the September launch of the Eagle. So that's one build. We may or may not have finished the Panzer. I'll be really disappointed if we've not finished the Panzer by then. I'd like to finish the Panzer and start the Eagle before the last 2 weeks of August if I can. We will see. But I will definitely have on the go the Lady Eleanor, and I will definitely have on the go the Scharnhorst. And as I launch officially the video mid-September, 13th of September, 12th of September, whatever we've just said, I will also have the 2 builds going on for the members only group build. So that's 5 kits on the go. We've been there before and it doesn't look pretty. And in amongst all of that, I've got school holidays, I've got going away on holiday, I've got my new car still to come, so I don't know whether that's going to happen next weekend or not. We've chosen the registration number this week, which is really important because the family likes to name the car and the car gets named based on the registration number. So actually Alice helped me pick the registration number. We were between 2. I'll explain more when we get the car, what have you, because I've decided to have a little bit of fun and explain to you why I chose this car from a modeller's perspective. Anyway, so we chose the number plate. I'm not going to tell you the number plate for obvious reasons. Car's not actually been registered yet, because I've tried on a couple of websites to put that registration in for things that I've got to do, like checking in with the holiday in August, and I can't because they don't recognise the registration yet. But what I will say is that the car's been picked up in Macclesfield, and all the registration numbers we were given begin with an MC. So the car's automatically going to have a Scottish name in it. Anyway, you can all go in the comments and speculate as to what that will be. None of you will get it. Not in a million years. But try by all means. Tell you what, if anyone can guess what my daughter's decided we're going to call the car, I will give you a kit of my choice, kit of your choice, sorry, from my stash. Give you some options. You can choose a kit. You can have it. I'll send it to you post free. That's how confident I am you won't guess it. Anyway, moving back to normality. I'll have 5 builds on the go during September, October, November, 5 builds, and then we'll slowly get back down to that normal pace of 3, 1 wood, 2 plastic. But how many kits is too many? How many kits can you build at one time? I know there are some people that build just one. So Ron at the model ship builds one at a time. And as he's getting towards the end of that one, he'll think about what he's going to buy and buy another one, and he'll just build one at a time. And in many ways, he's right. You've only got 2 hands. You can only build one at one time. I can't do that. I absolutely cannot build one model at a time. I used to when I was a kid, because there was no other option. But what happened when I was a kid was I built a model when I felt like it. When I felt like modelling, I did some modelling. And when I didn't, I did something else. I listened to music, ran my model railway, did some drawing, went out on my bike, whatever I'm going to do. Because when I finish that kit, I might not have a kit for a few weeks, a few months, depending on whether I'm having to save up pocket money or whether I've got a birthday or Christmas or what have you coming up. Yeah. When I was a bit older and I got some money, for a little while I built a kit and then I'd build another one, because that was the habit I was in. It was only later in life when I had a little bit of disposable income and, this kit's come out and I really fancy that. I'll buy that even though I've not finished that. And then you've just slipped and you're going down that slope. It's a really greasy, long slope of building a stash. And then what happens once you've got some stash, and you then go, actually, I'm not in the mood for building this kit, but I've got all these others here, so maybe I'll start this one. And then you've got 2 on the go. Then you've got 3 on the go. Then you've got a shelf queen. Then you've got 3 on the go, but they're a different 3, and you've got 2 shelf queens. And before you know it, you've entered this really murky world of you've got too many builds on, you've got too many shelf queens, your stash is too big, and your partner is saying, what's going on here? Do you need counselling? So we're all there to a greater or lesser degree in the main. I think that's the impression I get. I'm definitely there. I'm wallowing in this murky, joyous pit of too many kits to build, too many shelf queens, and I'm about to go back to too many builds on the go. But how many builds is too many? That's my question for you guys this week. I mean, what's typical for you? How many builds would you say you have on the go? And be honest, how many of them are actually shelf queens? How many of them are sat there and you've not worked on them for a few weeks, a few months, a few years? At what point do they become a shelf queen? I'm not sure. But how many actual builds are you building? You know, I'm doing this while the paint's drying, I'm doing this other kit. How many builds can you actually manage at one time? So for me, the magic number seems to be 3, and it's really helpful that I have 3 builds on, because when I'm sick and tired of one, I can jump onto another. When I'm doing tank tracks and I really want to, you know, stamp all over the kit and pretend I've never seen it, I can flip onto something completely different, and that will sort that out, and then I'll be ready for the tracks again. So for me, the magic number is 3, and the way that's working now is 2 plastic and a wood. So that keeps me sane. I've got space to build 3. It sort of works for me. More than 3, and that's too many. And I know I'm going into too many. I'm going into too many with my eyes wide open. I know what's coming. Am I concerned? Teeny bit. Am I bothered? Not really. Will it be fun? Yes. Will I feel the pressure? Yes. But only because of you guys, to be honest. I wouldn't have felt the pressure before. Because why? Because if I was building this and I didn't have a channel, this would be a shelf queen right now. It would be, in reality, it would be in pre-B1N shelf. So it would be sat there, officially a shelf queen, but in reality, it's going in the bin. We just haven't brought ourselves to making that decision. And again, I think that's another thing that modelers do. You know, they're not always very honest with themselves. You know, why have you got that stash? Well, because I didn't want to miss that model. It might not come out again. You're not really being honest with yourselves. You've got an addiction. You buy too many models. It's a problem. You know, you probably need counselling, but you don't want to say that to yourself. What you actually want to say is, no, I'm gonna build all of those. I have a plan. So all of this is linked, and for me, it all comes from how many model builds can you manage realistically at a time. So I know for some of you, it's probably more than 3, maybe, especially if you're retired and got lots of time on your hands. For me, who's still family dad and granddad and working full time, 3 is my real safe, sane limit. So that's my limit. I'm really interested to know what yours is. Are we all multiple kit builders? Or are we all in denial and we're really building one at a time and there's lots in the background, and then you might hop back to it when you finish that one? So how do you work? How many models is the appropriate number of models to be building? That's my question for this week. I'm really interested to know your answers. I do read all of your answers. I find it interesting, and it really helps me because I can then think, okay, this is how people work, and that might lead into how we construct our videos and what sort of content we put out in the future. So there you go. I'm a 3 kit guy. What about you guys? Let us know. Right, there you go. I think that is definitely it for this week. So I hope you're all having a great week. If you are entering into school holidays like I am, best of luck. You know, my thoughts are with you. I hope you survive it and come out of it in September knowing that the nights are drawing in, the weather's getting colder, your partner can't make you do DIY, you can't go out and tidy up the garden because it's too wet, so the only thing left is modelling. There is great light on the horizon for us all. Until that time, hang on in, enjoy your modelling. Bye for now.